There's a mighty wind blowing across the runway in Dublin as this Embraer is rolling for takeoff, and look at the nose swerving left and right as pilot flying is trying to keep it straight. At rotation, they're into the air already. Very short takeoff roll, and with a positive rate of climb, the gear is going to come up, and in about an hour they'll be arriving in London City, and that's the Docklands to the rest of us. Next, out of that heavy grey slate coloured sky comes the queen of the Aer Lingus fleet. Dublin, as we know, is the epicentre of Shamrock's operation, so it's pretty fitting that an Airbus A330 features front and centre, and that indeed is what pilot flying is trying to do here with the runway, but they're pitching, rolling and yawing like the Holyhead to Dunleary ferry crossing the Irish Sea. The wings are flexing like hell, and the pilot flying's probably wishing they were actually on a day off at home with their feet up watching the telly. So it's rolling around below 100 feet, and that's never a good sign for a tidy touchdown. It's within limits, and they regarded it as safe to make the approach. But it's been a day of bolt landings and wind shear go-arounds, and I think there's another one likely to happen here, where they get wind shear, and with toga power coming on, the aeroplane for all of a second briefly caresses the landing surface and then starts to climb away. The reason why I think it is wind shear event there is that the gear is remaining down despite a very positive rate of climb. The procedure dictates that until you're clear of the wind shear event, you do not change the configuration of the aircraft. Now that they're clear, they could bring the flap in one stage and get the gear up. To do otherwise would affect the drag of the aircraft and reduce the efficiency of escaping from that situation safely. Next on the runway for departure is the KLM 737 bound for Amsterdam Schiphol. Whilst the grass shows you that the wind has not abated 1 knot, it is showing more stability in yaw as it goes down the centre line. Now rotating into the air, you see how the tail naturally weathercocks into wind, and with the positive rate of climb, they've already got the gear up, and very soon they'll be in the Dutch capital having a lovely time. Next to land is the A330 we saw earlier. The sky is no less dark and the wind is still blowing, albeit it appears to be less gusty, and the wings are really rather more stable. A nice touchdown and some rudder required to straighten it up. Then they'll use full reverse, and with full flap and a judicious amount of rudder, keep your eyes on that vertical stabiliser to see the rudder twitching back and forth, keeping the aeroplane straight on the centre line. It's all beautifully under control, coming down to a safe taxi speed. And that's all there is to it. That's the difficult bit done. They've been told to vacate next left by the tower controller and contact their colleague who's running ground operations. They will give them their taxi instructions and the gate to which they're going to park. With the flaps retracted and the speed brakes in, they'll complete the after landing checklist and maybe even do a reduced engine taxi in procedure. That will save on engine wear and tear and obviously the expensive fuel, as well as reduced noise. For many, their day of work hasn't even started, as long delays still exist with the strong winds, both for arrivals and departures. But for now, we'll bid you farewell from Dublin and see you next time.